Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is Shreya Jadhav and today we are going to learn English class 12 chapter 1 The Last Lesson by Alfonso Daudet. So let us know something about the author. Alfonso Daudet was a French writer. He was a novelist and a short story writer. He is remembered chiefly as the author of sentimental tales of provincial life in the south of France. Truth and fantasy, merciless delineation and poetry, clear-sighted seriousness and a sense of humor, irony and compassion, all the contrasting elements of which men's dignity is made up and are to be found in Daudet's best work. The Franco-Prussian War had a deep effect on his writing, and he had penned his personal experiences through this story. Explanation of the chapter. In the previous video, we have gone through the important points of the chapter. Today, we are going to read the chapter and understand it. I started for school very late that morning and was in a great dread of scolding, especially because M. Hamel said that he would question on particulars, and I did not know the first word about them. For a moment I thought of running away and spending day off out of doors. It was so warm, so bright. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, and in the open field back of the sawmill the Prussian soldiers were drilling. It was all much more tempting than the rule for participles, but I had the strength to resist, and I hurried off to school. So over here the character I means Franco. He was late for the school and he was worried that he would be scolded by his French literature teacher, that was M. Hamel. And he thought that he was not in a mood to go to school, but then he thought that he was not having any option, but he was supposed to compulsory go to the school, and he wanted to avoid school because of such a bright and warm weather. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. For the last 2 years all our bad news had come from there. The lost battle, the drafts, the orders of commanding officer, and I thought to myself without stopping, what can be better now? So over here when he was passing, he saw that many people were gathered near the bulletin board and everybody were gossiping or talking with each other. Now usually in olden days, the important news related to battle or some war were declared or written on the bulletin board. So he was thinking that there might be something bad which has happened in the city. Then as I hurried by as fast as I could go, the blacksmith watcher who were there with his apprentice reading the bulletin called after me, "Don't go so fast, Bob. You'll get to your school in plenty of time." Now when as he was passing by, the villagers told friends that no need to hurry up to go to school because you are having plenty of time to go. Now Franz was in a dilemma, he was in a confusion that why they are saying in this manner. I thought he was making fun of me and reached M. Hamel's little garden all out of breath. Usually, when school began, there was a great bustle which could be heard out in the street. The opening and the closing of desks, lessons repeated in unison, very loud, with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. But now it was all so still. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. But of course, that day everything had to be as quiet as Sunday morning. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places, and M. Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. So, over here, when he reached the school, the usual scenario of the school was that people, the students especially over there, were running from here and there. There were some no pronunciations or recitations going on by the students. There was no noise of benches, noise of the teacher reciting some things. Okay, but that day was a bit unusual. Everything was pin drop silence, and it seemed that it was a Sunday morning. And what Friends is observing that all his classmates or batchmates were sitting at their places, and when he entered, usually everybody were roaming in the classrooms, but that day everybody were sitting in their place, and M. Hamel was walking up and down, and a ruler was in his hand, and this made Friends a bit frightened. But nothing happened. Amhammer saw me and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little friends. We were beginning without you." But over here, the the words by Amhammer were different from the usual day. He was really very polite, because usually Amhammer was a strict teacher, but that day he wasn't angry at Friends. I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and the little black silk cap, all embroidered, that he never wore except on inspection and prize day. Beside, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. Now over here, when he sat down in the front row, what he is observing, that Amhamel was wearing a beautiful green coat and a frilled shirt with a little black silk cap. Everything was very nicely put up, but he was thinking that Amhamel wore these sort of clothes only on the days of inspection or on the prize day. And one more strange thing he observed, that the environment of the school was so different, strange. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty the village people sitting quietly like ourselves, Old Hawker with his three-cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and the several other besides. Everybody looked sad, and Old Hawker had brought an old primer thumbed at the edges, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. Now Friends was a little bit more surprised, because usually the back benches or the end of the class was empty. No students used to sit over there. But today what he was observing, that the village people were sitting behind, and that made him a bit surprised. While I was wondering about it all, Amhamel mounted his chair and, in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Elsack and Lauren. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive." Now, as he was sitting, Mr. M. Hamel started very patiently on that day. He was really very calm and good, and he said that this is their last lesson which they are supposed to learn, because an order have come from German that in the cities of Elsack and Lauren, French wouldn't be their official language anymore. They will be learning German from tomorrow itself. So M. Hamel requested everyone to listen attentively. What a thunderclap these words were to me. On the wretches, that was what they had put up at the town hall. Now listening to these words, Friends was taken aback. He was so much in shock. My last French lesson. Why? I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn any more. I must stop there then. Oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds, eggs, or going sliding on the sour my books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry. My grammar and my history saints were old friends now that I couldn't give up. And Amhamel too. The idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, made me forget about all his ruler and how cranky he was. Now, this paragraph tells us that French is thinking in his mind that no, this couldn't be his last French lesson because he hardly knew anything to read and write. And moreover to that, he thought that no, he had wasted plenty of his time while peeping outside the window, passing the time. He thought that books are so heavy to carry, but now he is thinking that these books were his old good friends. And moreover to that, Am Hamel was such a nice person. Although he was really very strict, he used to beat, he was a bit cranky, but still he thought that no, now it was not possible for friends to see him from tomorrow because a new teacher was going to come to teach them German. Poor man, it was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes, and now I understood why the old men of the village were sitting there in the back of the room. It was because they were sorry too that they had not gone to school more. It was their way of thanking our master for his 40 years of faithful service and showing their respect for the country that was theirs no more. And now he was thinking that as it was the last lesson for M. Hamel, he was wearing these fine good clothes, and the village people sitting at the back benches, they were giving their appreciation to the language which they have learned. And moreover to that, Am Hamel's 40 years of faithful service and showing them the respect. While I was thinking of all these, I heard my name called. It was my turn to recite. What would I not have given to be able to say that dreadful rule of participle all through? Very loud and clear, and without one mistake. But I forgot and mixed up on the first words and stood there, holding on my desk, my heart beating, and not daring to look up. Now he was continuously thinking all these things in his mind, and Mr. Hamel called out his name because it was now his turn to recite the rules of participles. He thought that it would be easy for him to recite, but unfortunately he was unable to do that because he hadn't learnt it well, and he mixed up all the things. And now he was so much shameful that he didn't even looked up. I heard Am Hamel say to me, I won't scold you, little friends. You must feel bad enough. See how it is. Every day we have said to ourselves, Bah, I have plenty of time. I'll learn it tomorrow. And now you see where we have come out? Ah, that's a great trouble with Elsek. She puts off learning till tomorrow. Now those fellows out there will have the right to say to you, How is it? You pretend to be Frenchmen and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language. But you are not the worst, poor little friends. We all have a great deal to approach ourselves with. Now, M. Hamel told, as French was unable to say the rules of participles, M. Hamel said that it was not his fault and he would not scold him also, because this was tendency of the people of Elsek that to put the things for tomorrow, that okay, if I have the work today, I'll postpone it for tomorrow, I'll complete the work tomorrow, and that thing have always damaged the people. And now just imagine yourself that you are unable to say or write your own language. And the and Mr. Hamill said that it was not only your fault, but it was a somewhere fault of himself also and the people living in the LSEC. Your parents were not anxious enough to have you learn. They preferred to put you to work on farm or at meals so as to have a little more money. And I have been to blame also. Have I not often sent you to answer to water my flowers instead of learning your lessons? And when I wanted to go fishing, did I not just give you a holiday? Now over here, M. Hamill is telling that my dear little friends, it is not your fault. It is fault of your parents that they were not ready to give you a good education. They preferred that either going to school you should go to farm or you should go at meals so that you can have some money or more money eventually. And moreover to that, M. Hamill is blaming himself also that when I was not in a good mood to teach you, I would either send you to water my plants or else I would give you a day off and he would go to fishing. Then, from one thing to another, M. Hamill went on to talk of the French language, saying that it was the most beautiful language of the world, the clearest, the most logical, that we must guard it among us and never forget it, because when people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had a key to their prison. Then he opened a grammar and read us our lesson. I was amazed to see how well I understood it. All he said seemed so easy, so easy. I think too that I had never listened so carefully and that he had never explained everything with so much patience. So now M. Hamill started giving lecture on what is the importance or how good French language is, and he said that French language is one of the most beautiful language of the world. It is the most logical and the clearest language, and the people of LSEC and Lorraine should guard their language because it is their first language which they have learned. And moreover to that, when he opened his grammar book to give lessons and the way he explained grammar lessons at that day, or specifically on that day, friends understood each and every single word taught by M. Hamill. And he friends thought that he might have not paid much more attention to it, and M. Hamill haven't taught like this before. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away, and to put it all into our heads at one stroke. After the grammar, we had lesson in writing that day. M. Hamill had new copies for us, written in beautiful round hand. France Alsace, French Alsace. They looked like little flags floating everywhere in the school room hang from the road at the top of our desks. You ought to have seen how everyone set to work and how quiet it was. The only sound was scratching of pens over the paper. Once some beetles flew in, but nobody paid attention to them, not even the littlest one, who worked right on tracing their fish hooks as if that was French too. On the roof, the pigeons cooed very low, and I thought to myself, will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? So over here, M. Hamill started giving the best lectures of his life because it was going to be his last lesson. And after that, few copies were given for writing work. And in that book, there was written French Alsace, France Alsace. And moreover to that, everybody were writing so nicely that there was pin drop silence in the classroom. Only scratching of pens over paper were visible. There were few beetles who were flying, but even the smallest children did not pay attention to it. They were so much busy in their writing. And at that time duration, Franz heard a sound cooing of pigeons, and he thought that even the German people would tell pigeons to coo in German. So he was questioning to himself. Whenever I looked up from my writing, I saw M. Hamel sitting motionless in his chair and gazing first at one thing, then at another, as if he wanted to fix his mind just how everything looked in that little schoolroom. Fancy, for 40 years he had been there in the same place, with his garden outside the window and his class in front of him, just like that. Only the desks and benches had been worn smooth. The walnut trees in the garden were taller, and the hopvine that he had planted himself twined about the windows to the roof. How it must have broken his here to leave it all. Poor man, to hear his sister moving about in the room above, packing their trunks, for they must leave the country next day. So over here, when Franz was writing down, M. Hamel was sitting on the chair motionless, and he was gazing, means he was looking each and everywhere, nook and corner of the room, and he was recalling back his memories which he had spent there 40 years, because M. Hamel worked in that school for 40 long years, and he was getting back all the sweet memories with the students. And he was looking outside the garden where he had planted many trees and vines, plenty of things, and his sister was also moving all the trunks from above, because they were supposed to leave the next day. But he had the courage to hear every lesson to very last. After the writing, we had a lesson in history, and then the babies chanted their ba, bi, bi, bo, boo. Down there at their back of the room, old Hawker had put on his spectacles and, holding his primer in both hands, spelled the letters with him. So over here, the small children were reciting their lessons, and along with that the hawker also joined. You could see that he too was crying. His voice trembled with emotion, and it was funny to hear him that we all wanted to cry and laugh. Ah, how all I remember it, that last lesson. All at once the church clock struck 12. Then the Angelus. At the same moment, trumpets of Prussians returning from drill sounded under our windows. M. Hamel stood up very pale in his chair. I never saw him look so tall. So when Hawker was reciting the recitation along with the children, he was crying, and that his crying was felt to each and every student sitting over there. All the students wanted to cry and laugh at the same moment, because it was their last French lesson, and it was 12, and the Prussian army was coming back from the drill. At that time duration, M. Hamel stood up from his chair. He was very pale, he was looking very dry and sad at that time. My friends, said he, I, but something choked him. He couldn't go on. Then he returned to the blackboard, took a piece of chalk, and bearing on it with all his might, he wrote as large as he could, Vive la France. Then he stopped and leaned his head against the wall, and without a word, he made a gesture to us with his hand. School is dismissed. You may go. So, M. Hamel was mixed up with so much emotions that he was unable to say anything, or he was unable to deliver the last words to the students. He just stood up from his place, he went to blackboard, he took a piece of chalk and he wrote as large as he could, Vive la France, which means long live France. And he leaned over the blackboard and he just made a gesture to all the students and the village people with his hand that the class was dismissed, means it was over, and the students may go. And their last French literature lecture was over. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. If you are having any queries, you can comment in the comment section below. Thank you.